Terima kasih Anda masih menyaksikan Prime Words, and we're still talking with Philippine Ambassador for Indonesia, Your Excellency Leehiong T Wee. Now we're going to talk about pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. How is the Philippines make peace with COVID-19? Because we heard that the Philippines lowering pandemic restriction to level 1, or is so-called new normal phase.
Yeah, we are now back to pre-pandemic normal, no? With infection rates coming down. Most of the restrictions are now lifted, no? Except I think, the population is aware that to have face masks, social distancing, and to avoid crowd, no? These are some of the basic things that the population knows, no? Because this year we have a goal of vaccinating about 90 million people. And we are providing about 73 million booster shots for the adult and about 13 million booster shots for children aged from 12 to 17. So these are the booster shots goal for the year. Right now, as of last month, we have already about 58 million Filipinos that has been fully vaccinated, and about 66 million having the first dose. Then about 7 million that has already received booster shots. So the way really to prevent COVID or even the future variant is to vaccinate and to continue with booster shots.
So there's no more restrictions for restaurants, public area to be open?
Yeah, as of now, all of these are lifted, given also the election campaign that is undergoing now.
Wow, interesting. So what about easing policies during the pandemic for foreign tourists?
Yeah, I think it is now lifted. We are accepting vaccination, vaccine paper from most of the countries. Huh? And even Indonesia now can come to the Philippines with a vaccine card, and they can enter the Philippines.
No more quarantine?
As of the last memo that we had, it's now about 3 days quarantine only. So it's really opening up, huh? Yeah.
What about, currently developing a derivative variant of COVID-19, like BA2? How does the Philippines deal with the threats? Maybe if there is some derivative, variant.
Our Department of Health are looking on this, no? But as of now, I think the thrust is really to vaccine and to do booster shot. Hopefully, this will be able to prevent us from future threat on COVID-19.
So what about the strategy of the Philippines government to, because we believe that this pandemic impact all over the world, including, countries' economy, what about the challenges during the pandemic in the Philippines?
Well, for more than 2 years experiencing the pandemic, I think people are getting used to it, huh? And it's becoming sort of like flu. As you know, in the last 2 years, we have been hearing a lot of pro and con about vaccine, but people are used to it now and treating the current viruses as just like a flu. So hopefully it will just like a flu.
They just consider it as a flu.
Yeah.
Like regular flu.
Yeah, rather than to have all the fear by hearing a lot of good news and bad news about the COVID-19.
What kind of business, that's still running during the pandemic in the Philippines?
Well, the best business during the pandemic was the tests. Huh? That the people has undergo a lot of PCR tests, antigen tests. But if you look at the record, what do you call that? The test proved to be 95% good, huh? Yeah. So businesses in the Philippines that were affected were retail business, but other than that, offices are still on, big businesses are still on, real estate is coming back. So we are more or less, I think, at this point in time, back to normal.
I see. So what kind of sectors to be focusing on, in the Philippines? Which sector?
Well, we are now focusing on manufacturing production for export, and we're now focusing on the build that has been done. So more and more infrastructure are being done. Then we have the government has signed a create law which allows foreign direct investment into the Philippines. And only last month we have also approved a public service sector which allows infrastructure to come to which allows investment for infrastructure to come to the Philippines, also retail business.
So, how much is the target for GDP in this year?
This will substantially increase the GDP. In fact, the last quarter of last year, we have a growth of 7.1% in the third quarter of 2021. So this year, the 6.8% growth, I think, will be attained because of the two laws, the CREATE law and the Philippine Public Service law, that encourage foreign investors to come to the Philippines.
So which sector, Ambassador Wee, that really increased the GDP in the Philippines this year?
The biggest sector that will increase the GDP of the Philippines this year would be the retail sector, because we have the CREATE law and the Philippine Public Service law that will encourage foreign investment to the Philippines. We are going to expand domestic supply, and this will attract foreign direct investment and also tourism. These are the sector that will boost GDP this year for the Philippines.
Interesting. Dan pemirsa, kami akan segera kembali setelah jeda pariwara berikut. Tetaplah bersama kami di Prime Words. What about bilateral cooperation, between Indonesia and the Philippines towards nickel?
Well, nickel is one item in the Philippines that has been always exporting to China. So in the future, we hope that the nickel industry in the Philippines can have a cooperation with the nickel in Indonesia, which is a big product. So this is another promising commodity that we can develop in the future.
Maybe can create for more electric vehicles in the future?
I think Indonesia is quite far in that, but Philippines can also learn from your electric vehicle and from using nickel as an end product.